webinar series. Teach and learn. American English webinar series.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the American English webinar series, brought to you by the American English team at the U.S. Department of State in Washington, D.C. Let's take a look at these great photos from Bolivia featuring two different viewing groups at Fundación Educativa y Cultural CVA during our first webinar of this series on May 4th. Thanks to Elizabeth Montero Marquez for submitting these photos, and I think I saw her in the participant list, so great to have you here. We love to see teachers learning together, and we hope all of your viewing groups out there will share your webinar viewing photos by emailing them to americanenglishwebinars@elprograms.org. We may feature your photo in the next webinar. My name is Katie, part of the American English team, also known as Moderator Katie. You'll also see moderators Amy and Jenny in the chat box to help you today during the webinar. They will assist you and support you as you participate. Here you can see the exciting schedule for this series. Our next webinar will be on June 1st and is entitled Promoting Gender Equality in the English Language Classroom with Phil Deerking. Our webinars are each 60 minutes long and related to a theme found on the American English website. The Teacher's Corner section from the website shown here features resources and lesson ideas related to the month's topic. The theme for May is Using Art, Music, and Drama in English Language Teaching, which is why we had our first webinar on drama, and today we get another webinar on that theme about music. Next, let's look at how you will participate in the webinars. During these webinars, you will hear but not see the presenter. The way for you to participate is by typing in the chat box, as many of you are already doing. The chat box is where you can ask questions or make comments related to today's topic. So we may not be able to answer every question during the session, but we'll try. And there are often hundreds of teachers, so sometimes it's tricky, but there is another place to ask questions after the session is over, which is our Ning community, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. The presenter may also ask you questions in the form of polls, and these multiple choice questions will appear on the screen for you to answer. Some people may experience technical problems during the webinar. We will let you know if we are having a global problem. If you do lose sound, you can follow along with the caption pod if refreshing your internet browser doesn't correct the problem. Each webinar series consists of 6 webinars. During the series, webinars take place every other Wednesday. Participants who attend at least 4 out of 6 webinars will receive an e-certificate from the Regional English Language Officer or local U.S. Embassy after the series ends. To ensure you are eligible for the e-certificate, we will ask you to submit your attendance at the very end of the webinar. And so we will show you that link at the very end, and you will click on it to submit an online form with the requested information. We hope many of you are already familiar with our Ning site, but if you haven't registered yet, please do join this dynamic online community for EFL teachers. Sometimes it takes a couple of days for your Ning registration to be approved, especially at the beginning of a new series. Here you can find resources and discussion questions related to each webinar, as well as all of the webinar recordings and featured materials. The Ning is also where you can ask presenter questions after the webinar and live chat with fellow community members. So, as I mentioned before, this is our 3 million likes campaign. Do you like singing, dancing, or playing an instrument? Help us celebrate 3 million likes on the American English Facebook page by being a part of the American English 3 million likes music video. Here's how. Go to the link listed here in the chat box and on the slide, and download the free 3 Million Likes song. You can also download the lyrics to that song. And you can watch our lyric video. After you know the song, record a music video with yourself and maybe some colleagues. You can sing, dance, or play an instrument. Check out the video on the link here for ideas. Once you're finished, upload your video to the American English Facebook page or email it to americanenglish@state.gov. Include your name and country and use the hashtag #WeLoveAE. We're so excited to see what you have to share with us. The deadline is May 23rd. It's coming up quickly, but we can't wait to see your videos. And now for today's webinar, Using Songs to Teach English. Almost everybody in the world loves music. Our students love music, and we do too. There are many ways songs and music can help create a classroom that is happy, interactive, and intellectually challenging. In this webinar, you will learn some effective techniques for incorporating music and song in your classroom. And it's my pleasure today to introduce our presenter, Dr. Kristen Lems. Kristen lives in Chicago and teaches ESL and bilingual education at National Louis University. She has a doctorate in reading and language and a master's in teaching English as a second language from the University of Illinois. Kristen was a Fulbright scholar in both Algeria and Mongolia and was also an English language specialist in Chile. She's presented her highly successful institute about using music to teach ESL at the TESOL International Association Convention for the past 10 years. Kristen loves sharing her enthusiasm about music and languages whenever possible as a teacher, teacher trainer, and folk singer. So welcome, Kristen. We're excited to hear what you have for us today.
Thank you very much, and welcome to everybody. If you are in the Chicago time zone, I will tell you good afternoon, but maybe it's good evening or maybe it's good morning for you. We're just very happy to have you here. I like to think of this as a music festival for teachers. So let's enjoy our music festival under our big tent. I am speaking to you from the Windy City, Chicago, Illinois. This is a picture I took of our skyline from the aquarium, which is out on a peninsula. We can look back and see the beautiful skyline from the peninsula. And you can see we have many skyscrapers, and this is beautiful Lake Michigan in front of us. So I hope you will visit sometime, and we welcome you. Thank you. We have 4 goals for today. First goal, learning about music and the brain. That is important because it helps us understand why music is such a powerful tool for language. Seeing the advantages of music in the language classroom. Many of you already know these advantages, but maybe there are some that are new. Learning 5 ways to use music and song in English as a second language or English as a foreign language classrooms. And finding and choosing music resources. Okay, here we go. The first activity is a poll question. You have already answered the poll in the pre-webinar, but here is a new one for you. The question is, how often do you use music and song in the classroom? There are 4 choices. I have never used music and song to teach English. I have used music and song to teach English once or twice. I sometimes use music and song to teach English, or I use music and song to teach English almost every day. Let's see what we have here with our large group with hundreds and hundreds of people. It looks like most of you, 73%, sometimes use music and songs to teach English, but 7% of you have never used music and song in the classroom. So you are the teachers that I will try to convince today. I hope you will get some ideas about using music and song in your classroom. Thank you. All right, let's look at the research about music and the brain. Here is a big question. Where does music reside in the brain? Scientists have found that playing music is like setting off fireworks in the brain because it touches so many parts of the brain. One part that responds to music is called Broca's area. There is a little picture of Pierre Broca. He was a French scientist and doctor, and he discovered in the 1800s the area that is now called Broca's area, right there, the little red place there on the left side of the brain. It is the place where patterns and categories are recognized and stored. This is not only musical patterns, but also language patterns. Same place. Isn't that interesting? It is also the place that speech is produced. Broca's area shows activity when people hear an unpleasant musical sequence and also when they hear an ungrammatical sentence. So Broca's area says, wait, there's something wrong here when you hear dissonant music or ungrammatical sentences. Pretty interesting, huh? There's another area called Wernicke's area. This is the German anatomist Karl Wernicke, and he found another area on the left side of the brain, a little bit behind Broca's area, but closely connected to it. This is the place that speech is recognized and processed. So these two areas are very important for music and for language. However, there is a third area that is deeper than Broca's or Wernicke's area. And this area helps to explain why music is so powerful. This is called the limbic system. The limbic system is way down deep in the brain, right above the brainstem. In terms of evolution, it is the oldest part of the brain. It controls the emotions. It stores memories. It regulates smell and memories and even sweating. So you can imagine it is a pretty primal, very central part of our emotions. The limbic system, this emotional core of the brain, responds to happy music. When people hear happy music, the limbic system responds with all of the changes that make a body happy. Isn't that interesting? In a survey of hundreds of young adults, 70% reported that music was important to their lives because it elicits emotions and feelings. And this was the same percentage for women and men. Now I will ask you poll number 2. How does music make you feel? There are 3 choices, and you can check 1 or 2 or 3 or none. The first choice says music touches my emotions. The second choice says when I hear music, it brings back powerful memories. And the third choice says, I associate certain events in my life with particular songs. Let's see what you have to say. Oh, I'm seeing more than 50% for the first choice, for the second choice, and almost 50% for the third choice. I associate certain events in my life with certain songs. I see that music has a powerful impact on you and your emotional system. That is terrific. And I'm not surprised. Why are people who play music and study instruments so often considered smart? The interest in performing arts, and that includes music, theater, dance, and graphic art, leads to a high state of motivation. That, in turn, produces the sustained attention and the training of attention that leads to improvement in other cognitive domains. So the idea is music increases motivation. When our motivation is higher, our attention is longer. When our attention is longer, it is easier to learn new things. So that's how it works. And of course, we must talk about the benefits of bilingualism. All of you are bilingual, maybe trilingual, multilingual. People who are bilingual and people who have learned music have several advantages. They have mental advantages in their executive function. Also, music training and bilingualism hold back mental decline in old age. You stay fresh for longer, and they are more powerful when they are started at an early age. So if your students are learning new languages and using music, what a powerful formula to help them for their whole lives. Here is a wonderful quote from Harvard Medical School. I would like to read it for you. I would challenge everybody to come up with another activity that engages as much real estate in the brain as music making does. That's a funny metaphor, but you get the idea. Your brain is really working actively when it is making music. Okay. Now we will go to the second part of the presentation, advantages of music in the language classroom. Probably you know most of these advantages. Let's see. Advantage number 1, music overcomes inhibitions. It is a wonderful way for shy people to participate. Maybe some of you are shy and you feel more relaxed when music is playing and you are more comfortable with your class. Advantage number 2, music is associated with our deepest memories. For example, if you went to school in the 1990s, you love the songs from the 1990s, and you remember them, and maybe you hum them, and it's deep down in your limbic system, in your memory area. Advantage number 3, music can create deep conversations. And this is a little snapshot of me talking to my ESL students, having a deep conversation about a song. And it is amazing how deep and honest and open conversations can be when we talk about music. Advantage number 4, music is a universal language. Music is equally good and equally important in any place in the world. All of our cultures have music. We all love our own cultural music, and we can appreciate the music of other cultures too. So with music, we are all equal. Advantage number 5, music activates more of the senses and wakes them up. This is a picture I took at the Lincoln Park Zoo in Chicago of 2 lazy spider monkeys. I think if somebody would play some music for them, they would jump up and start to swing from the branches. And advantage number 6, music builds classroom community. When I was in Chile in 2013, we did a song and dance together. This was in Arica, Chile. Hello to anybody from Arica, Chile. Hello, hello, hello. It was wonderful to be there. And this is a picture of me showing the dance steps. And look at all of these wonderful teachers holding hands, learning the dance, learning the song, so they can go back and teach it to their students. Music builds community. Advantage number 7, music gives validation for students with artistic talent. Have you ever had a student who was quiet and shy and seemed to be in another world, and you give them an opportunity to talk about music or play music, and suddenly you see a brilliant student? Because music is a special kind of intelligence, and this gives us a chance to validate the intelligence of these students. All right, let's do the third poll. The poll says, which of these is true for you? Number 1, I didn't know about all of the ways music stimulates the brain. Number 2, I am surprised and pleased to learn about the benefits of music. And number 3, and this is the one that I hope you will choose, I am starting to think I should use more music in my life and in my classroom. Let's see what you have to say. Very nice. I see 33% for choice 1, 53% for choice 2. Wow, 57% for choice 3. I hope we can find ways to help you use more music in your classroom and in your life. That's great. All right, now we have a chat box question too. The chat box question says, what advantages have you personally experienced from music as a student, as a teacher, or generally? New vocabulary. It's fun, it's relaxing, gets their attention. Oh yes. More fluency, pronunciation. Oh wow. Learning new lyrics, relaxation, engagement, motivating. Wow. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. This is fantastic. It's pleasant, emotions, motivation. Wow. Yep. Even memorization. Now we will get to part 3 of the presentation, 5 ways to use music in the ESL classroom. Some of these are probably familiar to you, but maybe 1 or 2 of them are not. I have divided these 5 ways into listening, speaking, reading, vocabulary, and writing. And you can find this PowerPoint and look at this later on in the Ning. Don't worry, it's all there. The first one is listening, to practice listening comprehension and grammar. Many of you do this, but maybe you don't do this particular technique. It is called transcribing, kind of like dictation. I love to use this song, Que sera, sera, whatever will be, will be. You can find it on YouTube. It's easy to transcribe. There's lots of repetition, and the students just love it. Here's the lesson plan. Divide students into small groups, and usually one group for each verse and one more group for the chorus. Each group gets one verse, and the group that might be less proficient gets the chorus. Why? Because the chorus repeats. Each member of the group listens to the song, writes what they hear, and compares notes with other group members to create one version. One member of the group writes it on the board, and then the class listens a second or third time. Any mistakes or miscues noticed by the other groups are corrected. Then the correct lyric sheet is provided. It's very important to provide the correct lyrics after you study a song. Let's try it with a song that I wrote that is based on the words of Martin Luther King. Come by here.
Come by here, Martin Luther King. Come by here, Martin Luther King. Come by here, Martin Luther King. Your words we sing. Your words we sing. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Only light can do that. Hatred cannot drive out hatred. Hatred cannot drive out hatred. Hatred cannot drive out hatred. Only love can do that. Only love can do that.
Thank you very much. I saw such wonderful comments in the chat box. Yes, you can use this song. We have given you the link, and the lyrics are on this PowerPoint, and you can use them. It's a great song to use because the words repeat and they are slow. That's what we want to look for when you're transcribing a song. Raise your hand if you think you could use this activity in your classroom. Ho-ho! I see a lot of hands. Very nice. I hope you can. I hope you can. Very easy song to sing and fun to sing with a group. You can also sing it in a program for parents, something like that, or for at the end of the year. What songs with simple or repetitive words have you used in your class? Put that in the chat box if you have some ideas. That would be lovely. We can also continue to talk in the discussion area post-webinar, okay? Oh, nice. Lemon Tree, I'm a Believer, Frozen, oh yeah, Sealed with a Kiss, I love it. These are some wonderful ideas. Cindy Lauper, thank you. Okay, number 2 is speaking to affirm student interests by presenting about a favorite artist, genre, or piece of music. And I'm giving the example of the great Kulthum, the Egyptian singer who lived from 1898 to 1975 and was renowned across the Arabic-speaking world, maybe the first diva ever, almost considered royalty because of the sheer power of her songs and her performances. Look at the ways that my students have presented about Kulthum. One of them showed a sample of her performance on YouTube, and we discussed it. Another one made a brief biography and explained it in front of the class. Another one took a survey of elders in their family and asked them about what Kulthum meant to them. This was an Arab student, and his grandparents loved Kulthum. You can also focus on one performance or one song. And the student can also show her influence on other singers. Let me repeat, this is a student project, not something that you prepare to show the students. It's something the students prepare to show you and the rest of the class. Now, when you do this, here's the lesson plan. Students prepare an oral report about their favorite musical genre, artist, or piece of music using a PowerPoint or similar presentation. They can include a brief MP3 or a YouTube of the artist. And this is the important part. As the student presents, the others fill out a feedback form to establish purpose, and the teacher collects them, checks them, and gives them to the presenter. Here is the feedback form I use. I just put it on a little quarter of a piece of paper, so I can put 4 on a page and cut them. The name of the presenter, the topic of the presentation, my name, I really liked, and I learned. And the teacher collects them. You just check them over at night, and you bring them back to the presenter the next day and give them to the presenter. And it makes the presenter very happy to get all of that feedback from their classmates. And it gives the classmates something to do when they are not presenting. If you don't have a feedback form, they say, "Oh, I'm finished. Now I can just sleep." So this keeps them involved. Yeah, it's really exciting. And it also, if you have a large class, you discover that they actually don't always know each other's names. And this way they have to learn the name of their classmate, and they have to keep track of the topic of the presentation. This is how I learned about Michael Bublé for the first time from my students from Spain. I didn't know about him. This was several years ago. If you had a chance to do a presentation about an artist, a genre, or a musical work that you really like, what would you choose? Put it in the chat box. I see Michael Bublé, Michael Jackson, Raffi, yeah. Bob Marley, it's going by very quickly. Love it. And of course, the presentation doesn't have to be about a singer in English. It can be a great artist from your culture or from a third culture. Very nice. Enrique Iglesias. Okay. Ooh, I can't wait to read these later. All right, here is the third technique, and this is a reading focus. And by the way, I noticed that most of you who did the survey waiting for the webinar to begin did not check reading as a focus of your music. But you can use reading to practice close reading for inference. Now, it is a long lesson plan, and I can't show you the whole lesson plan for this song, but we put it up in the Ning, and you can download the whole lesson plan with all of the details. It has all of the lyrics, the vocabulary, and other activities. It is a song that I wrote and I sang in a country style about farmers who are women. And here's a picture, a very famous American painting called American Gothic about 2 farmers from Iowa about 100 years ago. Farmers were known for being very hardworking, very serious, and working day and night. And this song is about a woman and man who work day and night. And when the man dies, she is expected to pay a tax to keep her farm. So here is what you do. Create a warm-up activity to contextualize the song, pre-teach the important vocabulary, provide a lyric sheet and play the song, and then ask two kinds of questions. Literal questions from line-by-line reading, and inferential questions. That means questions that connect information in different locations of the text, or they make connections using background knowledge. So let's listen to 1 minute of the song, and as I said, you can get the link to the song later on the Ning. Here we go.
I am a farmer, I've been one all my life. Call me a farmer and not a farmer's wife. The plow and hoe left their patterns on my hand, and now they tell me this is not my land. We raised 2 children and they are farmers too. A crop and garden every year we grew. 200 acres ain't no easy haul, but it's a good life, no regrets at all. When Joe turned 50, his back was acting up. We 3 took over so's he could rest up. My Joe was buried where his daddy lies, and soon some men came asking for my prize.
Okay, I'm sorry we couldn't play the whole song, but as I said, you can get the song at the Ning. So you can see that this is a story, and you can see that Joe, the farmer, was buried where his daddy lies, so he died. And pretty soon people came to the widow and said, you have to pay the overhead, the tax. And she talks about how she is also a farmer. So it has a very important message. And you can talk about the issues about family farms and women farmers. This was a law in the United States that was only changed in 1980. Until then, the woman had to pay an inheritance tax if her husband died and they were farmers. Now, luckily, that has changed, but it was not good. So, good conversation, and you can ask a lot of good questions. There are some of the literal questions, and there are some of the inferential questions. As I said, the lesson plan has a lot more. I'm just showing you a little bit here, okay? Raise your hand if you could use this activity in your classroom. Nice. I would be very happy to know that my song was useful for you. I wrote it when I was living in central Illinois, in the middle of the farmland. And farm women told me about this. They were very angry. Okay, thanks for raising your hands. That's really great. Okay, the fourth. Oh, what are some other songs that are great for practicing inferencing? Can you think right away of a song where you can help students read between the lines? Inferencing means 2 things. Number 1, your background knowledge helps to explain something that is missing. Or number 2, you get the answer by going across lines in a text. They're not just in a row. You have to jump around. Okay, cool. Nice, nice, nice. Love it. I'm going to look at all of these later. Hotel California, yes, very mysterious song, isn't it? Very, very, very nice. Thank you. Okay. Now we have number 4, technique vocabulary. When you are introducing a topic, you can introduce the topic through music. And I would like to give the example of bluegrass music. Bluegrass music is an indigenous American genre. It is a music of poor white people around the Appalachian Mountains, originally made by coal miners, truckers, farmers, white poor people's music from rural America. That is the place on the map. This is a blow-up of that area. It's 5 states: West Virginia, Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee, and Kentucky. So this is where bluegrass comes from. Now, do you want to know the name bluegrass, where it came from? It came from this guy, Bill Monroe. He is considered the father of bluegrass. He lived until 1996, so we do have recordings of his band, and they were from Kentucky, and they called their band Bluegrass. Why? Because in Kentucky, the grass looks a little bit blue. Other grass in other states has more of a green color, and this has more of a blue color, so it's kind of cool. Here are the instruments that are used for bluegrass: acoustic guitar, banjo, which of course comes from West Africa, came to the United States through Africans, the fiddle or violin, double bass or bass fiddle, the mandolin, and over on the right you see the dobro. And the most interesting, I think, is the washboard. Do you see the washboard to the right of the picture? That is what rural people use to wash their clothes, to scrub the clothes, but they discovered that you can play the washboard as a rhythm instrument, which is pretty interesting. Some musicians also play the spoons like a rhythm instrument. So this is kind of poor people's music. We use whatever instruments are available to make a beautiful noise or make a loud noise. Here are some of the common themes in bluegrass, and there is a picture of a bluegrass band. As you see, they are standing in a field without any microphones or speakers. It's really just, out in the field or by a farm or in a small festival. Tragic events, songs about lost love, descriptions of partings. Partings means farewell or death. Appeals to God. Stories of the old days. And of course, daily work, including hunting, fishing, farming, and then later trucking. Truckers talked about bluegrass. This is kind of the music that changed into country music later, but country music is more electric and more produced. Bluegrass is more acoustic without amplification. This is an extremely good example of bluegrass. It's called Man of Constant Sorrow. You can find this on YouTube, and it's from the movie soundtrack, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? I can't play it for you right now, but you can find it, and it's a wonderful song to use. You can talk to the students about the meaning of the song. I love to ask them what happened to the man, try to write the story, and they have to use inference. Okay. Raise your hand if you think you could use music to introduce a cultural or content-based topic in your classroom. Very nice. I see yes, 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 yes. Fabulous. So glad. All right. And here is the chat box question. What musical resources have you used to introduce a topic? So you're introducing a new topic and you're using a song to warm up the topic. Let's see some of your answers in the chat box. All right, Audacity. Well, yes, that's how you save the songs. Yeah, guitar, folk songs. Very good. What a wonderful world. That introduces a topic of generosity and character education. Very nice. Beautiful. Uh-huh. Love it. Thank you. I'm going to look at all of your responses later. Finally, we have one more idea, and this one I think is different. Maybe you haven't done this, and I hope you will think about doing it. This is to stimulate writing. For writing, it's to stimulate self-expression through art or creative writing to instrumental music. This is music without lyrics, music without words. It doesn't have to be Western classical music. It could be gamelan. It could be Cirque du Soleil. It could be Yanni. There are many, many choices. I'm going to show you the lesson plan first. First thing, provide nice writing instruments or art supplies and a variety of papers on the table. The students can choose their colored pencils or crayons, and they can choose their paper. Invite the students to express themselves in drawing or doodles. Do you know what a doodle is? It means just making a wild sketch with your pencil or pen. Sketches, poetry, or writing as they listen to the piece you will play. Tell how long the piece will last. That's very important, because if they think the piece is going to end quickly, they won't start. They have to know this is 5 minutes, and here is the name of the composer, here are the performers, and you have 5 minutes to draw, listen, write poetry, sketch. After listening, give them 2 to 3 more minutes to complete the project, and then invite students to share their work and provide support as they share. And this is a wonderful activity with adults, because many times adults feel things when they listen to instrumental music that leads to some very, very interesting art, poetry, or sketches. Now I'm going to go back so you can see this performer as we play 1 minute of Bach's French Suite No. 5, fourth movement, played by Carol Lems-Dworkin. Here we go. I'm sorry we couldn't finish it, but you do get the idea of this beautiful, happy music. And I wanted you to know that the pianist is my mother. I am so very, very proud of my mother. She is 92 years old and she still teaches students in her home. And I was very lucky to grow up with music all the time in my home. So please raise your hand if you have used music, instrumental music, in your classroom. Very nice. I think that some of you might think about it, okay? If you've never done it before. How did you feel or think as you listened to the Gigue from Bach's French Suite No. 5? And what ways could you use instrumental music as an activity in your English class? Beautiful. Somebody mentioned flute music, relaxing, peaceful music. I love Cirque du Soleil. I play them a lot. Yes, it can be behind the students as they're writing. Very nice. To develop creativity. Yeah. Don't forget instrumental music. We don't always need songs. Okay, lovely. Now we are in the last part of our presentation. Thank you so much. This is about finding and choosing music resources. And there are many, many music resources now. I recommend pop songs. Pop songs are great. And there are 3 reasons why pop songs are great. 4 reasons. Number 1, they're everywhere. They are part of our background knowledge. We hear them all the time. Number 2, they use high frequency vocabulary. Most of the words are familiar to most of the listeners, which is great. And this is very important. Pop songs use the words you, I, and we. It gives us an emotional connection to the music. If you hear a song saying you la 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 and we la 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 la, you feel like you are part of the song. So you feel an emotional connection and your limbic system responds. Now you know what the limbic system is, right? And finally, pop songs are great because they are repetitive. They are a perfect, effortless drill for sounds and syntax. And there are some wonderful articles about this by Tim Murphy. You can look him up on the internet. So students are singing pop songs and they are actually drilling, but they don't know they are because it is so enjoyable. Now, where can you find more resources for songs? Many of you probably know Betty Azar, or maybe you call her Azar. She has a series of grammar books. It's called the Azar Grammar Series. And if you look on the internet, you will find free song lesson plans to match with the grammar points in all of the Azar Grammar Series. So if you are looking for something about present perfect continuous, you can look at the Betty Azar lesson plans and you can find something, okay? Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. And there are a few more resources. I think most of you know resources I don't even know about. Of course, there are many live performances on YouTube. People took a picture of artists doing live performances. And then there are also old recordings on YouTube, like Kulthum, who we were talking about before. She has passed away, but we can still see her on YouTube and we can hear her old recordings, which is really cool. And of course, there are also music videos on YouTube, many. Also, don't forget karaoke. There are many karaoke songs on YouTube. You can practice with your students. If you put in the word karaoke and the name of the song, you'll probably find it on YouTube. It's great fun and great practice. In fact, when I was in Mongolia, we had a whole karaoke night with all the English teachers. It was so much fun. Then there's SoundCloud, and I've given you the link to my songs on SoundCloud. SoundCloud has thousands of songs, and Pandora, of course, and artist websites. If there is a particular artist you are especially fond of, if you go to their website, they usually have songs you can listen to. Sometimes they even have free downloads. And of course, there's cdbaby.com, which is the place that independent artists like me sell their songs. And there are thousands of smaller artists available there. And Facebook, most of all. Facebook is fantastic. Oh, I see some other sources. Lyricstraining.com, that's great. Karaoke. Yeah, there's a new one called genius.com that I just found yesterday that has lots and lots of song lyrics too. But I want to remind you, don't think that all of the resources are far away. You also have your own resources, your own culture, your own voice, your own musical resources, your own musicians, and the cultures of you and your students. So let's always respect our home culture. It's something to be so proud of. The power of beauty. Music is beautiful. And thank you very much. It was wonderful to have this webinar. Thank you, and let's stay in touch.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kristen Lems, for that wonderful presentation on using songs to teach English. I think we all learned some really interesting and new ways for using music that maybe we hadn't considered before in our language classroom. So thank you so much. And thanks to you, our webinar audience, for all of your great participation and thoughtful responses in the chat box and polls today. We hope to see more of that discussion on the Ning. And don't forget to send in those webinar viewing group photos. We love to see your groups learning together. And of course, don't forget to create your own music video. What an inspiration today we had with Kristen Lems. And now you can participate in our 3 million likes campaign and create your own videos. Our next webinar takes place at this same link on June 1st, 2016, and it's entitled Promoting Gender Equality in the English Language Classroom, presented by Phil Deerking. Thanks again for attending this webinar session.